This is it. This is the podcast we've been waiting to do for years. Are you excited? We got to introduce everybody.
I'm super excited, but you're like 20 years from where I asked you.
Listen, better late than never.
That's true.
We are I don't want to mess this up, the Law and Love podcast. I keep wanting to go to life, like law, love, life.
Maybe we should just like add a word and like change the name of the podcast before it even starts.
We're going to find out. We're going to figure it out. But at the moment we're starting, we are the Law and Life. What do you think about that?
No, Law and Love.
Oh yeah, Law and Love. How do you feel about that? Do you like what we're about to do with everyone? Because we're going to have so much fun doing this.
I think it's super exciting.
What are you most excited? More time with me, probably.
I'm so excited for that.
Because people probably may not know. The world doesn't know unless you're in Arizona. The world does not know that we are the husband and wife law team normally, and you have gotten yourself pregnant repeatedly.
I did that all by myself.
You just kept getting knocked up. So we got all 8 kids. And
that's amazing, isn't it?
One of the largest injury firms in the southwestern part of the United States. And you're like this amazing. And I used to say we should do a reality show that just follows you around. But this is we're finally doing something. And we have the coolest first guest, which we never would have. If we had done this 20 years ago, Gravity's never our first guest. We never could have met him.
True.
So I waited intentionally.
Which is amazing. I'm super excited about Gravity. And should we welcome him or talk more about love, life, and the law?
I think we'll do a lot of talking
Wait,
about
it's the husband and wife law and love podcast insights from Alexis and Mark, the husband and wife law team.
I think it's mostly insights, mostly come from you. I just make the random comments along the way.
True.
I think you'll have to carry that. But I think I don't think we can just like magically have Gravity just show up as our first guest.
I know Gravity, it's like we have to explain what that even is.
Well, I think we'll let Miguel, now Gravity, explain what it is. But what the people should know is, which shows how cool we are. Because people may not yet realize, they probably already realize how cool I am. But if they don't, this guest is our instant credibility piece because we are bringing on one of the greatest breakdancers in the world.
That's amazing.
It's hard to find one of the greatest.
And I've seen him. He really is amazing. I think you're actually... you should have tried out for the Olympics.
Yes,
I don't understand why they didn't ask you.
I went to made the top 16 from my middle school.
No,
I'm sure
did you see that worm you did at the party?
The fact that you used the worm.
It's not called the worm?
It is called the worm. Okay. But the fact that you use the worm to try to talk about my breakdancing is maybe the most painful thing ever. The worm is like a... That's a hard skill. No, that's like
I could barely get to the floor.
That people who never even tried to breakdance... Like you got to tell me something else I do when I break dance for the people. So you don't leave me with, no, Mark, you do the worm. And so you're a break dancer.
Okay. I don't really like these moves, but a lot of people seem to like them.
The wave.
The wave. Yeah. But
I love how you do it. Can you show me it one more time?
It's like,
I don't know. Exactly how I
look. The spin on the back.
Okay.
I thought that was really good.
And that was huge in the 80s. So I'm sticking with it.
Yes. There was one move you did but I only saw you from a different angle, but I think you were like on your head, like on your head, like balancing on your head. What's that move called?
That's called, I've been watching Gravity and the Olympic breakdancers. So I had never done that before. That was just like a last minute.
Is that a move or was that just like a Mark Breyer
I have no
move?
idea what it was, but it was my attempt.
Oh, okay.
So
I showed the kids and you were just like up. Because that's the angle I had of you. And they were like, please tell Dad not to do that.
So I should be clear about this before we bring on our first guest. I do not consider myself a breakdancer. I know I'm not a breakdancer. I know I'm just a kid that loved to breakdance and still has fun trying. But I know I don't actually dance. So with that, are we ready? Can we bring Gravity on?
Yes.
All right. So let's welcome our first guest. This thing's going to blow up. It's going to be huge. The world's going to be watching. The trivia fact is going to be who was the first guest. It was Gravity, y'all.
That's awesome.
This is it. This is my first time to ever say hello and introduce a guest. And I get to talk to you. And I have to say, I got to start by saying this. It never feels totally right because I haven't known you that long, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe 6 months ish, give or take, maybe a little more. No, more
it's
than
longer.
That.
It's actually like 8 or 9 months.
Yeah. But I feel like since Miguel is the name you were born with, that, you know, I want to look you in the eye when I talk to you and be like, hey, Miguel, how you doing? But you've earned a name above that with Gravity. So why don't you tell? Because people don't know who I'm talking to.
Yeah, well, first of all, guys, thank you so much for having me on. And, you know, since I've met you and recently you had
to wait to meet the
I
better
did.
half.
I had to wait,
that.
and I was very curious too, you know. And when I did have the opportunity to meet you during the commercial shoot, it was really cool. It was really cool to see like the way he would talk about you, and then I met you in person. I'm like, the dynamic is there. It's like it's really dope. It's super genuine. But
you know,
so
he fought for like a year not to be with me too. That's a whole other story. We'll talk about
story.
That's you and Gravity now.
That's any relationship over 10 years, which I
tried to fight it
too. That's well, my name is Miguel Angel Rosario, but I'm also known as Gravity in the world of breaking, in the world today. That's what I go by. It's like an alter ego that I've created through dance. I had no idea that name really would have stuck, and it really is its own now. So, you know, if I hear Gravity, I turn. If I hear Miguel, I turn. It's like literally in sync.
How did it come up? Like, how did you pick Gravity?
I didn't. My mom did. I thought I was this hot shot in New York, you know, this kid who can flip and was like a high level gymnast. And then I'm also like in breaking, and I was like, man, they're going to call me like too nasty because I'm like so dope. And my mom was like, as far as gymnastics goes, I was great. But like, my mom was like, dude, you suck. Like legit, she was like, because my mom is raw. Me and my mom are super tight, and she was like, "You're not going out there. It's too nasty. I'm gonna save you now. Let's work together on this one." And she was like, "You should call yourself like anti-gravity." And I was like, "That's mad long. That'll never happen."
Right.
And then she's just like, "Well, why don't you just try gravity?" Because I had a competition that day at NYU. The event was called NYU Breaks You, and she was just like, why don't you just go and enter as Gravity, give it a shot. And then I entered, I wrote my name on the sheet. And then when the MC called me up, they were like, we have such and such versus Gravity? Gravity? Who's Gravity? And everybody was like looking around, and I came out. And when I came out, they were like, yo! Because everybody knew I could flip, but it made sense. And it was like the identity took then, like from that moment.
So there are a lot of high-level athletes and performers who their alter ego, from what I've read about it, it's like when I am this person, I'm like a different person. When you are going to perform, are you still like, this is my genuine me? Or is it like, like you'll hear an athlete go, you'll hear about someone who off the field is very quiet and laid back, and then on the field, they're just crazy, right? And everyone's different. Is it who you are now, one and the same, or is you flip a switch and now I'm Gravity?
That's an interesting question. I think it's an interesting question because that has been a journey. That has been like a serious identity crisis at one point. And I say this because I fell in love with Gravity. I fell in love with the attention. I fell in love with the hype. I fell in love with the opportunity that was being created around this kid from Brooklyn who, you know, all his teachers said he was going to be nothing. All his, you know, so many people just looked at me in the street. If I would be assumed that I was stealing if I was in a grocery store, to where this guy is praised worldwide. I became Gravity at all times, even at home. And as you get older and you realize, and you got a wife that will whoop your butt at any moment, you realize that identity needs a cap. It needs that Bruce Banner Hulk. You know, there's a time and place for that. And so 18 years later, there is a time for Gravity and there is a time for Miguel, you know, and Gravity, he belongs only on the stage. He belongs only in battle. He belongs only in the cypher. He belongs only when the music's on. Before anything outside of that, you get Miguel, and I think that character, like my original self, is super important. It's super important. The balance is important because this is how I'm able to be where my feet are. You know, I'm able to take it in. You know, like when we were at your corporate party, I asked you guys, I was like, man, have you had a chance to stop and look at all the people that you've made smile today. Like all the people that were so hyped to be there and all that. Like that was the time for you guys to be like, wait, stop. Let's stop for a second and be like, dang, you know, hey.
There's a lot of people here.
1996.
True. How did you end up
1996.
You
coming
find
to-
out the company story. That's right.
1996.
He was there,
I did,
yeah.
and not only that, but I did my research too. You know, like
Do your
I-
research.
and-
That's very important.
No, well, you know, but I did my research on our way to the corporate event because I was like, man, you know, I'm genuinely curious about your guys' story, you know, and so it was really cool to see what you guys have done, and
It's kind of funny to see some of the stuff that comes up when you research us.
you know what my wife said is only good reviews.
Right, that's
Oh,
good.
that's
good to
good.
hear.
Straight up.
Some of it's like Alexis age, Mark money. I'm like, what are people
What the
searching?
So it's funny you talk about, you know, stop and appreciate it. I don't think you ever do that. Like, you know, when
No.
gravity said, have you ever stopped and just paused and said, look at what, because we've been through it. And you ever stop and
True.
do it? Gravity. Do you feel like you do that?
Yeah,
'Cause-
he asked me on the couch before we got on, like, what do you do in your downtime? I'm like, downtime? There is no downtime. I definitely am somebody that focuses more on the gap than the gain because I'm a perfectionist and want everything to be exactly how I want it. So I definitely focus too much on like everything that I want to do as opposed to everything that I have done. Even with the kids, I'm like that too. Like, oh, they're getting so older, you know, more
yeah.
older, and I wish they were younger. And Mark's
Yeah.
like, just focus on now and everything
Yeah.
that you have as it is. But it's hard to do that.
It is, and I want to say that this is like newly obtained for me too. You know, like this year in general, starting in January, man,
What a
I
year.
really had to stop for a second because I am a perfectionist as well, and I am like it's never good enough. It's never good enough. It's never good enough, and you know, I would watch myself compete, and I couldn't even watch my battles. I couldn't watch my competitions because I would be so frustrated with the fact that I could have did better, and I could have did this, and I forgot about this, that, and the third. And I have a really good friend, and her name is Rose Kiernan, and she told me, "Hey, man, you where your feet are. Where are you at right now? You know, like look at what you're doing. You're doing something that's deemed impossible." And you know, then I had to stop and then think about, wow, you know, this year we're in our own home. This year, you know, my kids are doing X, Y, and Z. This year we're on our way to the Olympics. This year we've done this, and I really had to stop for a second because 18 years later, it felt like I started just a year ago. And so much time has passed by, I wonder how much I've actually missed, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, there's that quote. What's the quote you always say? It's like,
I only have 6, but I'm not sure which one. I
I
repeat
don't
the
know.
same ones
There's
over
one
and over.
funny quote. It's like, you're going to spend all your skinny years.
Oh, there was something that about women.
Like when
who
you're
go,
skinny, you're like, you're going to spend all your skinny years thinking you were fat, but you're actually skinny. But there's other quotes like
No,
that.
that's a real thing.
You know, like you're in your element. Like Mark always says to me about the kids, like they're here, they're around. Like you're going to spend all your time right now missing it. Like it's going to pass you by. But
honestly,
I'm like, oh, whatever, Mark, just be
So-
quiet.
Yeah, no, that's real.
I don't know
It's
the
true.
balance. It's easy. You know, people always say this. I hear this stuff. We've all heard this quote, right? Where people are like, no one ever on their deathbed says, I wish I would have worked more. Well, that's true. However, there's a lot of people on their deathbed, I suspect, that feel like I could have done more with this life. And sometimes that came through hard work of different kinds. It doesn't have to be working just a job. It could be hard work at a hobby, hard work for a charity. It could be a work at a job. But I think and you know, I hope to not find out anytime soon how I feel on my deathbed. My point is, the reason I'm bringing that up to what you're saying, Alexis, is on the one hand, I do sometimes try to remind myself and you that we need to stop and enjoy it and stop going, man, it all happened so fast. It all happened so fast. Yo, we're still in it. We still have the chance to enjoy it. Let's stop regretting the years that have happened because we're lucky enough to have lived that long, to have those years. You know, that wasn't guaranteed. And on the other hand, the reason you get to achieve some things you got to achieve is because of that. I need to do more. Would you have been And again, I don't want to sit here and make this, because I think it's much more fun to have a real conversation with you and about you. But if we're being honest, I told you this the other night, and I don't, I'm good. I have a lot of, I don't lack for confidence, but, and I think I don't think I suck at some things, and I think I'm all right, but you are better at what you've chosen to do for a living than most of us will ever be. Most of us will never be a top 10 ranked in the world at anything. And that's not a bad thing, by the way. You don't have to, but would you have gotten there if you were someone did it take that nonstop, I'm never good enough, I can do better, or could you have balanced it better?
Man, I 100% could have balanced it better. Like, we can do better at anything that we do. And I wanted to share something really fast before I even got into that. It was like, in breaking today, kids, adults, doesn't matter the age, everybody's so focused on the competition. And in life, when you're focused on a goal, we have this thing, people talk about like tunnel vision, or how they, like, you're so focused here. We don't realize that sometimes the most valuable stuff is in our peripherals, which are usually blurred out. And I tell my son all the time, like, hey, man, you're just sitting here watching the competition. You're so focused on the spotlight here. There's a lot happening over here in the ciphers. There's a lot of people here that are just dancing and get to know. And there's so much value in this culture. And it's the same thing like in business. Like, sometimes we are focused on the goal, the end game, whatever that is for whomever it is. But a lot of the times, it's those little side quests that you wouldn't normally see that bring the value that allow us to be present or grateful for what we do have, And so when we were talking about that, that's what I was thinking to myself, is like, man, the value sometimes is in the peripheral, For me to get where I was or where I am, which I'm not even like content about. Like, I'm not okay. Like, I'm like,
Focusing on the gap.
100%.
Yeah, right?
I'm like, whew, this
Here's
is
what's
where,
That's okay.
I've seen other people succeed. I watch people succeed on a daily basis, and I think about what I'm capable of, and I ask myself, why not me? And I think to myself, I only have one life. I'm actually very much aware that a midlife is not in the 50s. Midlife is in your 30s. Midlife is
We're almost gone. Okay.
Yeah, we're done.
We're done.
Midlife is today, because tomorrow's not promised. Right?
That's true.
And I truly believe that. And so I don't want to do anything that I'm not like 100% committed to. I don't want to do anything kind of. And on top of that, I just didn't want to. I had a job out here in AZ. I first moved out here. I didn't have much.
When did you move out here?
I moved out here in 2010.
Okay. Why Arizona?
So in New York.
Brooklyn to
So I love New York. I love New
city.
York, but I literally thought to myself, because I started traveling already, and I'm already heavy in breaking. I am nobody though. I am nobody. I just have goals, which was to be the best in the world at breaking. I've seen these people do it. My goal is to be the Tony Hawk of breaking. That is my goal. It's my life goal in general, is to be the Tony Hawk of breaking. I want to change the game for breaking in the ways that this man did. He's like my blueprint, essentially. And I thought to myself, these seasons are killing me. The rain season in New York, the only place I had to go is the park to practice.
How do you practice at the park?
You have to carry a linoleum that is easily 100 pounds. Nice,
right.
10 by 10, 12 by 12 has got to be over 70 to anywhere between 70 and 100 pounds. You have to carry that linoleum with you. You take it to the park, you lay it out, and you got to have D batteries, a crap load of D batteries, and your speaker is only going to last you about 3 hours. So I have X amount of time. But if it rained, if it was stormy, the snow in the winters, like, it hindered me from training as much as I wanted to. It got to the point where I would take my speaker and go to the train station and practice in the subway, because that's all I had. because it was raining or it was snowy out and I needed to train. And
Did you put out a cup to get money for your training?
I didn't. I didn't even care about people. I did eventually learn how to hit and street perform. But that's
like surrounding you.
That's how I got to where.
And...
that's how I got to where I wanted to go. If I wanted to take the Chinatown bus to go to Philly or Virginia, I had to make money. And if I asked my mom, she would give it to me. But she was a hardworking woman, and I wanted to do this. I made the choice, and I just with my friends, I didn't even think about it. It was like a no-brainer. It was like, I want to practice. Can't do it outside. Can't do this. They can't do that. I'm just gonna be determined. I was determined. So when the opportunity came to come to Arizona, I actually got reached out to come teach. Someone was like, "Hey, my son is doing X, Y, and Z. Will you come out here and teach? You could stay with us. We have a house, a room. You come for the weekend." And I'm like, yes, especially like then I wasn't a parent or anything. I've only really seen the East Coast, never been to California or anything like that. And I came out here, and for the first time ever, I came out, it was October. And when I came out here in October, we were driving to Vistancia. Back then, Vistancia was desert. And then there was just these nice houses that were built over there. And I thought to myself, with the weather and everything, I was like asking questions like, does it rain often? No, it only rains once a year during monsoon. And then it's hot these months and the rest is perfect. And I was like, and you guys just practice in your garages? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, and it's not that expensive to live here? They're like, no. I was like, okay, I'll stay. I literally went back
just
home.
Like that.
I went back home, came back again, went back home, came back again, went back home, came back, never went back. And then I met Bianca, and the rest is history. And then of course I would go back a lot. My mom thought it was the dumbest thing in the world, but I trained every day. I didn't have to worry about nothing. Like I really, really, really was focused, and I was closer to the West Coast and Vegas. And now I'm closer to Asia, So I was able to start traveling immensely.
Because the breaking in Asia
is insane.
Insane now.
And it's always been insane. But I literally moved to Arizona because the weather was good for my body. It didn't hurt. I was always warm and sweating, and it was good to train in. I came here because I dreamed of X, Y, and Z, and that is literally, it was like a pivotal moment in my life where I was able to make a drastic change, one that all my friends thought I was crazy for. But out of all my friends that I started breaking with, I'm the only one now doing it full time.
So this may be too personal, but you come on this podcast, and this is like getting grilled in a police station. We ask questions, you got to answer.
Yeah.
So this may be too personal, but you told me a great story about the moment, or I believe a moment where you were like, that you were going to marry Bianca. Do you remember the story you told me?
Maybe.
So you were at a competition and you reacted in a certain way.
Yeah.
Is that how you met her?
No. She was with me at a competition. I met her. She was literally house sitting for the people that brought me out. Because they traveled too.
How funny.
So they were like, hey, we're going to go out to dinner. And they invited her. They're like, hey, you and your sister want to come out to dinner? We have this guy in town. He's really cool. And she was like, who? And they showed her my MySpace. And
So this was a minute ago.
MySpace.
Yeah,
This did not just
and she
happen.
legit said, man, that guy's going to have my babies. He just doesn't know it yet. This is before we even met. I'm dead serious. I was trapped. Just kidding.
I might be able to relate.
Do you know how many kids they have?
5.
Yeah, we have 5.
4 girls
and
and
4
a boy.
girls.
We'll be together 14 years this year. Freaking crazy.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, man. And yeah, so what happened was I was at a competition and I lost. And, breaking is really subjective. And because it's subjective, you argue your case. You're like, there was no way I lost that. Throwing a fit. I'm freaking cursing. I'm upset because, let's be honest, like, a lot of the people that are judging may or may not relate to how hard I work. But the truth is, I don't think anybody understands, like, at coming up, like, if I did not win that battle, I wasn't making rent. Like, that was
Because you get paid if you win the competition.
You get paid to
can you
compete.
tell us a little bit about, I didn't even know that there were like competitions and stuff like that. So did you?
Well,
I mean-
no, I found out over the last 9 months of knowing you
Yeah.
that all these battles were going on and that there was cash prizes.
They're probably
and people
really
traveling.
fun to watch too.
Yeah,
like how does it work? How do you find them? Like,
so like once you get into the community, like there's actually now with technology, there's an app called Break Connect. And you can go on Break Connect, and everybody that's throwing events in the United States uses Break Connect, and it tells you where the information, like where the event is, all the information, buying tickets, signing up for the event to compete, all of it is on Break Connect. It's the best thing that's happened to us for the outside world to be, involved. It's a really inclusive app, very easy to use. But
All right, so you got to get back to the story though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Get back to the
will.
story.
So local competitions are pretty cool. They can range. Somebody asked me how much do I think a budget should be for a local competition. On a humble level, if you can throw an event. Sometimes it's $100, $200. People come, they win a prize. Very local, kids, adults, anybody can enter. And you have the chance to win. There's judges, DJ, all that stuff. As events start to get higher, where like you're paying $25, $40 to get in, you're expecting to see a show. And, for us, I want to enter an event where the prize is like $1,000 and up. If I could say, hey, I'm in $1,000 today, that's all right. That's like local. Competitions now, like I grew up on $200 events, $300 events, and then I would do them every weekend and I needed to rack up, or $500, $700 events. And so now, I compete for $10,000, $20,000, $100,000 prizes, which is insane.
Game changer.
It's game changer. It's a game changer for this kid that was practicing in the subway so he can win $500. So that
Stay
he
out
can,
of the snow.
Yeah, and stay out of the snow. Legit, But whatever the case is, I'm there at this competition and I lose and I'm furious. I'm like furious. And all these kids are there, all these parents are there, all these people are there, and she was pretty upset with me. And I didn't understand why. She's like, dude, you need, like, hey, all these people are watching you. Like, you can show them how to win, but show them how to lose too. And man, I was so like infuriated by what was happening that when she said that, because I wasn't even looking at her. I didn't even care to face the beast, like, and when she said it, it just made sense. I went from like Hulk to Bruce Banner in seconds and was like, got up, shook the judge's hands, apologized, and then stayed for the rest of the event. I was ready to leave. At this place, I'm out. And it's like, you got to think, like, same thing I tell my son, like, the spotlight is not the only place where you can gain value, and there's other things going on, and it's bigger than me, and ever since then, like, my perspective on anything that I attach myself to, it's bigger than me. It's always bigger than me. It's never about me. It's about the change that I can affect, and cause and effect is a real thing. And the Olympics is a perfect example. You can win a gold medal and nobody will talk about it. They're going to talk about whatever they can relate to. And they are the viewer. They are the customer. They are the outside world, And when you understand that, you start to realize that winning is not, and this is personally, winning does not bring you value. It's the moment that you're able to seize, those moments that you're able to capture. And you can only capture those moments if you're present. If we think too far ahead, we lose the steps along the way, And so, for me personally, I have world titles. I have championships and all these things, but that's not what makes gravity. That is not it. I've never been shy to seize a moment. I've never been shy to, because when you give something your all at all times, your results are inevitable. Whether they're what you aspire for or dream of, like these things, they're inevitable. But seizing a moment and giving somebody something to talk about for the rest of their lives, that's what I thrive on.
So I gotta ask you this,
Okay?
Because we cannot end this discussion without going one more thing that is very interesting to me. So we made the choice, which means she made the choice, and I did what I was told, and we had this bunch of kids. You've had a lot of kids, you and Bianca. You're in a tough position, and I'm curious how you plan to handle it, which may not be how you actually handle it. Of course, I've been lucky enough that We met because my son wanted to break dance at his bar mitzvah because he had seen me try to break dance at a bunch of family
Let's stop real
events.
fast.
And,
My guy, you are so hip hop, it's not even funny. At your party, you might have quoted about 10 songs, and I didn't stay as long as you did. So I'm sure there was about 3 to 5 more songs that you've quoted, and you knew them from like the beginning of the verse to the end of the verse. You know your music. You don't have to. You don't have to say that you break dance or that you're a breaker. You know, like none of that is it's all irrelevant. Like, bro, you get down, and in breaking, like that is valuable, bro. And we appreciate that, and we recognize that. We recognize those who indulge in hip hop culture and not just rap or not just art, but when you're involved in the elements like you are, just know, bro, like, yo, it's okay to say you get down.
You know what? We went in Brooklyn over the summer to the 50th year.
No, I was in the South Bronx.
Oh, it was in the South Bronx,
Yankee
but it was
Stadium.
the 50th
I was there.
year.
I found
hip-hop?
out he was there at the 50th
I
anniversary.
got
It
down
was-
with
Day
oh
hip
my
hop
gosh.
started with Kool Herc, and I found out later you were up on the stage.
I was on stage with Fat Joe and Crazy Legs. They
Oh my
passed
gosh,
me.
I have video. I'm gonna go back and look.
They literally like Crazy
or were
Legs
we
passed me the
outside in the line
baton.
at that point?
No, we saw
were
Fat
there.
Joe. Oh yeah, Fat Joe came on later. He was
Yeah, it was
because he's
insane.
from there, so the crowd he was
was
just like
insane.
when he brought Karos one out, right?
You know, I've never been in front of that many people, and so
That was
like
a
we were
lot of
supposed to. All right,
people.
so we had like we had a full thing planned, and we were supposed to open up. Legs is passing over the baton to me as like, all right, you guys know me, but this is the next gen. And I got up there, and I was supposed to like get down immediately. We're on a time constraint, and I stopped. And I was like, I can't get it. I walked out there and I just looked at everybody. Like 50,000 people.
A lot of people. And the
Insane.
people, when we were going to our seats, because Mark was really excited, so he got us really good seats. And those people don't sit in their seats.
They stand.
They stand. And I was like, move out. We have to get to our seats. And he was like,
Gravity was one of the worst moments in my
it
life.
was like, Alexis, stop. And I was like, listen, we're getting to our seats. Move out. We're going there. But it was like, they were like anywhere that there was not a place.
A little ball of fire
they
to
were
be in
there.
the Bronx like that.
I
Yo,
am
go ahead.
So I was like, move out. But we got to our seats.
I'm
My
not-
daughter had to literally like jump over people to get to her
That's
seats.
crazy.
It
I
was
don't
so
buy.
funny.
So I'm not an impulsive buyer. It's not really my thing. And my son, who lives in New York now, and he knows I love old school hip hop, and he grew up listening to it. And in fact, he had a little thing where he tried to be a rapper, and he still.
Oh, I saw you his video. It's really good.
But so
bet.
he sends me. I was sitting on a plane about to take off, and he sent me. I don't know whenever it came out, 6 months before, this screenshot of they were going to do a 50th anniversary of hip hop. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I didn't know the day hip hop started until. Until I didn't know. I knew generally the story
Did
of
you
hip
know
hop.
like this? Oh, you knew this story.
Yeah,
though?
I knew the story. I knew it started.
And
I
where
knew
it
it was New York.
started.
Yeah, but in all honesty,
Because he does know every line to all the songs.
telling you,
Some of
yeah.
the songs, I'm like, Mark, what did they just say?
yeah, it's better if she doesn't know. And so,
I'm like, did they just say that?
so I never do this, but he sent it to me, and I went on Ticketmaster. It had just come out, so there were still really good seats. And another thing is, I don't go to a lot of concerts. Seats for something like that are expensive. And before that flight took off, so in about 10 minutes, I made the decision. I bought 4 tickets, which I normally wouldn't buy. I didn't even know how I was going to get to New York. I didn't know if my schedule would allow me to New York. And I remember just going, you know what? What if? So I knew my son would want to go with me. I did not know that Alexis would want to go. So we get there.
I find it humorous watching him. He sings every morning to all the hip hop songs. He has an eclectic group of
Yeah, it's
songs
not just
that he
rap.
listens
I like
to.
a lot of stuff.
No,
Yeah.
today
but-
he listened to Hamilton, but he likes hip hop a lot. But I was like, if I have a chance to be with my son, like I'm going.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it wasn't even about. So we
Yeah.
get there. It's in Yankee Stadium. It's in the outfield. Stage
Yeah.
going. It took forever to get through security. It was ridiculous.
Like an
But anyway,
hour.
So we get through security. And what I was upset about is I think T.I. is amazing, and I was walking in during T.I.'s set. But so we get up there now. T.I.'s going, so he's got so many great songs. The crowd's going nuts. We get there, and there's a cop standing there, right? And we kind of look because we're like 30 rows from where we have to get to, and there is no aisle. Forget that everyone's standing.
Yeah.
There's no aisle left.
Yeah.
So I look at him and he's like, good luck. That's
like,
what he
"Good
said.
luck."
He said, good luck. He wasn't even being a jerk. He was just like, good luck. He wasn't saying don't do it.
I'm like,
So
can't you
way-
put everyone in their seats? He's
So
like,
I'm trying to
"No."
go through this is how I'm doing it. I'm taking a step. Excuse me, I'm really sorry. Then I'm waiting. Then I'm taking another step. Then I start talking to someone about it. And he's like, yeah, good. And we're just talking. And all of a sudden, it sounds like a third grade school teacher behind me. Excuse me. And here comes Alexis, all 5 foot of herself. And she's just making room.
And all you do is get right behind her and
That's
you let her lead
exactly
the
what he
way.
did. And he
yeah.
got to his seat.
I was so conflicted because on the one hand, I'm like, she's my hero. I'm going to get up there here at the end of the TI set and be in the seats that we paid for.
Yep.
And on the other hand, I'm like, oh my goodness, this woman is like, get out the way. But she got us to the seats. I'd still be working my way up to those seats.
Yeah, no
So
doubt.
it was, but what I was going to ask you about was, you got a really tough situation because I've met your son, who's just a great kid. He's just a great kid. And
Thanks.
he's obviously got a ton of talent, and he seems totally into the sport, it's more than a sport, but into breaking. And then I don't know if your girls will be into it as well, but you have a tough situation because on the one hand, we know that a lot of elite athletes, their parents were elite athletes, men and women. But you're going to have to try to figure out the coach side of you and the dad side of you. Have you and Bianca talked about that? You're going to play it by ear. Are you going to push your kids into it? Are you going to try to hold them back? Do you have a plan for that?
Yeah. So Bianca just trusts me to do what I do with my kids. I feel like I'm so heavily invested in my children and what they want to do. All my kids can break. They can all spin on their heads, every single one of them except the baby. And actually, yesterday, she had her first real practice with us. It was insane.
Wow.
I have
Wait, how
video
old
and
is
everything.
she?
She's 1.
1.
And so
and how
I'm-
old's the oldest?
13.
Okay. And
And so
Miguel's 10?
he's 12.
12. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then I have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. And so they can all break. The only ones that actually take it serious is my son. My oldest daughter can break. She does break. She does compete. But she's also at this age where she wants to do softball. She's got her friends. And so, I think she just does it because she enjoys it. One of my girls, Ray Marie, she's the one that looks like me completely. She can do anything. She can break, and she can take it as far as my son's going to take it. But I don't push it on any of them. I push it on my son only because he tells me he wants to go to this competition, that competition, this competition, this competition. So these competitions, just this year alone, I'll spend about $8,000 just in travel expenses for this kid. We're talking about not just his flight, but my flight, round trip,
Right.
hotel, and then these events that he wants to go to. We have Vegas, we have Hawaii, and we have Puerto Rico. And the reason why we're doing these events is because I think it's important to put him in situations where he's competing against people he's never seen before. And I'm also really big on brand building. And so he can compete in Arizona all day long. But when you start to step outside your box is when you start to make some type of momentum happen for yourself. And so when my son tells me, I want to do this, and I'm going to now not only be emotionally invested, but financially invested, I need him to take it 100% serious. So when we train, I am coach. Once training is done, I'm still coach, because coach has to make sure that my athlete or my artist is eating well, drinking lots of water, recovering. So I am coach 100% of the time, and I am also dad 100% of the time, because as his father, I want to see him succeed, but I also want to see him enjoy it. So there is a balance, 100%. Dad is also present during training, because I'm also he's killing it. And so I am 100% invested. I don't want him to struggle the same way I did to figure these things out. And, another thing is that I also let him make his choices. I let him decide who he wants, because when you come up in the game, you can get like these little sponsors, and these sponsors will basically give you free gear. And there's multiple like brands within breaking where they'll give you free gear. You rep their brand, you can get into the event for free, and da-da-da. And so he chose a brand that he wants to work with. And I'm like, cool, like you make that decision, people you want to dance with, I'm cool. Like I let him make these decisions. I let him fall, and I let him succeed. The last thing I want is my son to grow up in Gravity's shadow. I need him to be his own person. And he is, like, in the world, all over the world, he's known as Gravity's son, or was known as Gravity's son. Now it's like, oh, that's Bam Bam. Like, he's going to be one of the greatest in the world.
Oh,
like,
that's his
he
name?
does it, yeah.
That's great.
So we call him Bam Bam because when he was little, he'd walk around in his diaper and he wouldn't talk. He'd just be like, but he can break and do all this crazy stuff, and he can draw and he can, like, communicate, but he would only use And so I was like, man, it's like little Bam Bam. He would break things, and so we call him Bam Bam. But now we call him Bam Bam the Bambino. And so he's like, the baby, but he's incredible. He has a future in breaking. His goal is Brisbane 2032.
Wow.
But if breaking,
seems so far. 2032. Oh my God.
If breaking gets petitioned into the 2028 Olympics, he will be 16. And if he takes it serious, he can enter. He can qualify. Actually,
that's right in Los Angeles, right?
Yeah, it's
so
right.
That's
yeah,
like right
so it's
in
right
your back
here,
door.
And
yeah.
so as a parent, to answer your question, like, it was his decision to be homeschooled. He was like, I'm tired when I come home from school. People make fun of me for this. People like, I get bullied in this. And he's just like, I'd rather just wake up, learn what I have to learn, and then train. And I was scared. I was terrified, to be honest. Homeschooling is your whole education is in my hands. It's bad enough. It's hard enough that your life is in my hands. You want me to, like, your future is now, like, it's totally in my hands. Like,
did the other kids homeschool too, or
they
just
did
him?
it for a year.
Oh, okay.
They did it for a year, and the girls enjoyed it. But it was a lot for me to do homeschooling different ages and different, like, levels, and I couldn't do it. It was too hard for me. And I am so grateful that they love their schools that they're in. They literally have no problems waking up. And we've always had trouble with the girls waking up and getting ready for school. They are, like, pumped right now. They have friends. They love their teachers.
That's
they love
nice.
their environment. It's incredible. So,
because they're what, like middle school?
no,
and-
my daughter is in 8th grade, and then the other ones are like in 1st and 3rd grade.
elementary
Yeah, so 8th grade, that's like a hard.
Yeah,
if
man,
she's
because
like in school, that's great.
yeah,
in elementary school's usually pretty fun.
And yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's so great that you let him make his choices. One of the things that Mark always says, you have to let them fail. So it's like, if you're always making the choices for your kids, then that's not like their choice. So it's like they have to make their own choices, and then sometimes they succeed, but sometimes they fail. Sometimes I think that even going back to what you said before in terms of, lose well, I think lots of times you learn from your failures. You learn just as much from your failures as you do.
Yeah.
Anytime we do anything, like, we always call it a postmortem, and we're always like, okay, what could we have done better? What can we do next time? Or, those are always opportunities for learning.
I definitely think we fail as parents.
Yeah,
Speaking very generally, by trying to protect our kids.
Just
And
in
when you
general, a lot
protect
of
them,
people, yeah.
And you protect them, and I'm guilty of it too. I try to be less guilty of it. It's easy we all judge ourselves better than we judge others. So but I try very hard, and have a lot of examples where I could have saved the day for my kid, but the goal isn't to save that day. The goal is to allow them to, I can't speak really, but I want my kids to, God willing, live these happy, healthy lives. That requires some beatings along the way to teach you, and you learn from, and you grow from.
That he doesn't really mean beatings,
I know,
but
I know.
just in case anyone else is thinking that.
It's almost like that life hits you hard. They need to get hit.
They need to
know what it feels like.
make their decisions,
We want to
especially as they
protect
get
them.
older.
When a kid's being mean to them at school, and I'm not talking about true bullying. I'm not talking about where 7 kids who are popular or stronger are beating up on them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about where one kid that used to be your friend is saying super mean things. A lot of parents want to swoop in and make that better. And I try very hard. We have tried very hard to, even though it hurts, to talk it out. Here's how you say it. Here's how you do it without running to the teacher. Here's how you try to work it out. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I think the general idea of letting them fail is super important.
Yeah.
And let them make their own choices.
You can't do anything about it because in competition,
that's gonna happen.
You're gonna fail.
I mean, yeah, man. And you know, there was a situation that happened. So I grew up, the way I grew up is like, you know, I was picked on every day until I got into my first fight. After my first fight, I was 12 years old in my first fight, so my son's age. And before that, I was into Pokemon, video games. I played with action figures. I'm talking about at 12 years old, I had a massive imagination. I was just a good kid that did gymnastics. My mom sheltered me from the outside world. But when I went to junior high school, I'd take the bus to school and da-da-da. And, you know, my first fight ever changed me forever because I never got bullied again after that. I never got bullied again once I stood up for myself. Before the last day my son went to school, the day we decided to pull him out, I picked him from school and I'm like, hey, Papa, what's up, man? How you doing? How was your day? And he just like looked at me and he just broke down. And I was like, whoa, what happened? So we stopped walking at that point because I was like, we're not leaving the school. What happened? And he was like, I got beat up today. And I was like, oh, man, we're going to take some L's sometimes. I was like, who was it? He was like, well, it was 3 of them. And I was like, oh, about face. Went back to the school.
Yeah.
And when he's telling me what happened, and I was like, again, just being like, I'm furious. Right? I couldn't be there to protect my son. I'm like, and so there's like parent pickup. And this was the day I realized my son's going to be a better man than me. This is the day. And I realized as a parent, like, he's got it. They have it. Like, they got it. They don't need me here for this. You know, I walked up to the school and, you know, at parent pickup, there's parents, there's teachers, it's a lot of chaos, a lot happening. Kids are usually waiting right there. And I saw the kids. I said, hey, man, I walked up to the kids. Their dad walked up too. And, you know, and parents were there. I said, I ignored the parents completely like they weren't even there. And I said, hey, man, you guys jumped my son today. I said, gee, handle up. And I just stepped back and he looked at me like, and I said, punch him right in the face, dude. Just crack him. He'll never bother you again. His dad, he was like, excuse me. And I just like in my head, I thought to myself, okay, I'm going to crack you, dude. Like,
right.
You know,
you go first, I'll go next.
Yep, literally. And I literally resorted back to like this super immature teenage mentality, had no clue, right? And I'm saying this because like as a parent, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm learning every day. You know, they don't come with manuals.
Right.
I just decided to have kids.
And everyone is different, right?
Every single kid is different.
Doesn't matter how many kids
so then
you have.
He goes and they were like, I didn't hit him. And then I'm like, and I looked at my son and he was like, yeah, you did. And then my son said to the kid, my son looked at me, he said to the kid, I said, oh, you're scared. I said, you guys are punks like your dad. You must get it from your dads. And literally the dads were like in shock. Teachers were there. And my son was like, this is not me, Dad. That's what he told me. Like, this is not me. I don't want to fight. I don't need to fight. I just don't want to come here anymore. And I said, okay. And I looked at the parents. They didn't say anything. And I walked away. And I was like, dude, you got to like stand up for yourself. We walked away. And he was like, that's maybe how you would handle it. But
he's teaching you lessons.
Well,
Isn't that a song? Lessons on lessons.
And he
Look
literally,
at my life, man. That's lessons on lessons on. It's a big Sean song, but it doesn't really relate exactly to what we're talking about.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to
good
pull
try.
out
Good
whatever
try.
I
Yeah,
can.
But yeah, in that walk to the car, which was normally a 1-minute walk, felt like a 30-minute walk to the car where, you know, he's just telling me like, I told you I just want to get out of school. Like, I'd rather just be home. He brought it at that. He basically just used that as the reason, like his proof of evidence.
Right.
You know, proof of concept. He straight up, he was like, this is why I don't want to come here. I don't need to fight. I don't want to fight. I just want to dance. I just want to dance and be smart.
And they don't have the same values that he has. So,
yeah.
I mean, there are some schools who just not a right fit, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Like
and I don't take away from all schools, but I realize in that moment that he knows what he wants.
Right.
He's a better man than me because I would have stooped down to that level.
It made it even worse.
Yeah, he's literally since then, you know, like since then it's been 2.5 years now. I refuse, like road rage is not even a thing. Like, you know, when people like curse at you in the car and I have no idea what you're
And
saying.
they're not going to get there any faster most of the time
So
either.
I literally, I cruise in the right lane, and if you honk, you go around, like, and literally I just ignore it, and people stick the middle finger up, talking, I don't even acknowledge it. And we had this conversation, me and him, and a couple of my other friends, you know, we talk about how, like, people don't really exist until you give them attention. They literally, there's billions of people on the planet, neighborhoods that exist all over the world that you can't even envision because you've never seen it. You don't acknowledge it. But if you went on Google Earth, you'd know it's there, and now it's real. None of it is real unless you give it attention. And so when you have that mentality, it allows me to really, man, it allows me to walk in strides, because I don't have to like indulge in the things that don't make the boat go faster.
It is if someone passes by you and they flip you off, and you have the ability to go, and this is not easy, but that's not about me, right? They're
about that.
They don't even know me. This has nothing to do with me. Maybe I cut them off and I didn't know it, but whatever. But if I had accidentally cut them off at the grocery store, they would have seen me and known it was a mistake. But here, it's not about me. If you can do that, it doesn't affect your day. But you engage, or even if you don't engage,
You
and
can
it
change your
bothers
life.
you,
You can change your life,
Even
dude.
if you do something wrong, though, let's say you do cut somebody off,
Mm-hmm.
like, it's still about them. Like, if they get upset about that, you probably
Yeah.
don't cut them off
probably didn't do it
intentionally.
intentionally.
Yeah, and it is
so-
important, obviously, like, pay attention, these things.
Yeah, of
You can
course.
apologize if they can't
Yeah,
accept
like,
your apology, like,
sorry.
hey, my bad.
Yeah.
But the truth is, we're parents. We're not just parents. We're somebody's kid too. On top of that, we have people that rely on us, depend on us, and believe in us. And like, one decision, you can make one decision, your life will change forever. And as a parent, and I'm looking at my kids, and I'm like, dude, there's so much riding, like, you know. And this is another thing. Like, think about some of the things that we have built. You in your profession, me in my profession. It's like, we can't allow these things to exist. We can't allow these things to, like, affect the game plan here.
Right.
Like, we have that long-term vision, right? But then we have, like, the short-term things that we want to continue to enjoy, you know? And I don't know, man, being a parent, if I wasn't a parent, I had like two things on this one. If I wasn't a parent, not only would I be a really different person, but I'd probably be like, maybe even way more successful, right? Like, and just right. I'd have way more. Like, I look
You
at
have
people.
all your attention, not on
I
your
have
kids.
so many people that I compete against. They have no kids, no responsibility.
Yeah.
They break all day. They get up. They think about themselves, and I'm sure they have family and all this stuff. But like, when you have kids, you are responsible for life. You know, like, that is a whole different, like, responsibility. It makes you think about everything you're doing. But I wouldn't. I'd rather be the person I am today than that successful person without the information and experience that I have now.
My
It
dad
enriches
always
your
says,
whole life.
Yeah.
yes, true. My dad always says, run your own race,
Ooh.
which I think is such a good one. Because even like for us, what personal, professional, anything, people always will ask us like, did you see this or did you see that? What this person's doing? I'm like, no, because I'm only interested in our game plan, like what we're
Yeah.
doing, whether it's for our kids
Legit.
or our law firm, like
not
whatever
so
it
good at
is, it's
this
like
one.
run your own race.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And I think if you have your eyes just on yourself and not letting others impact what you do or your behavior, all of that stuff, it definitely keeps you more focused on what's best for you, not having all the noise
Man,
around you.
It's crazy you say that because I'm in a very hard place right now. Like, you know, since we're just having like open convo here
Right.
with you guys, you know, like, I was heartbroken that I didn't make it to the Olympics. It was my whole life. And when that happened, I started focusing on what everybody else was doing. And I started to lose myself. And I still even feel like I know what I have to do. Like, I know what I'm good at. But sometimes I get caught up in that, like, where I'm not running my own race, you know? And I wish somebody would have told me that even before, like the Olympic platform, like, because then I probably would have done way even better, you know? But I was affected by things happening on the outside, whether it was political things, like, there was so many factors that came into the Olympic platform that was such a distraction And I didn't run my own race. You know, I ran a race where I was looking to see who's next to me and not realizing that it didn't matter. There was literally nobody next to me. There was literally nobody next to me. And it's, you said that, and it really resonated because, you know, running your own race, man, like even hearing that now, I'm just like, man, when people say like, man, you're in your own lane, then who sets the speed limit there? There is none, right? Like you go as fast as you want. You could drive as efficient as you want, and you can even stop for a second to take a break and then get back on the road. And who else is in the lane with you? It's nobody. You're in your own race. That's stuck pretty heavy right now.
And you can't now go back and redo that, right? But, and by the way, just to be clear for those that may not know, top 16 people in the world qualify for the Olympics. You were way into the top 16, the top 10, but 2 per country. And I watched it, and just say to be in the top 10 in the world for the Olympics.
That's amazing.
But so now you'll be left with the same thing that, and as I mentioned, I'm not very good at running my own race. I always struggle with that. I always look around me. I'm always looking at others going, I should be ahead of this person. I'm not very good at this. Alexis has to remind me of it regularly to try to improve it. But I do think because she says it regularly, there are times where I do a better job of going, you know, that this person on the outside, in fact, the people on the outside that right now will have all these things to say negatively. When you go run your own race, they'll be the first people to come and go, I always knew you were going to make it. I always knew you could do it. I always knew you would change the game. Whatever it is, whether for you there's a million ways you can take where you're going, and I don't know where your journey will take you, but there's so many things you can do. Whatever you do, there will be doubters and haters, and when you worry about them, they just detract from whatever you're going to do. And as soon as you do it, those same people are the ones who go, I always knew you were going to do it. No, you didn't. Yeah. but it's fine, right? But it's hard.
One of the things, we have these team meetings every morning. They're supposed to be from like, they're on Zoom. They're supposed to be from like 9 to 9:05. But Mark talks a lot. Recently, I think sometimes they're like 9:20, 9:30. And I'm like, today I had control of the phone. So I was like, all right, we're done. You're done talking. But one of the things we talk a lot about quotes or just different mindset types of things. Because whatever you're doing, whether it's, you know, becoming an Olympian or in your role as a job, whatever, I believe a lot of it's all about mindset.
Anything.
Yeah, like, you know, see what you look for. Like there's all sorts of just things. But one of the things that we talked about, he was on the Peloton and he was sometimes I feel like you like watch a class, but this one he was watching the Olympics in a story or of some Olympian.
In 2023, they followed the top track and field sprinters, men and women, and did this whole Netflix series. So it was behind the scenes as
I know what you're talking about.
Which
they
was
were
really
building up,
cool.
getting ready for the World Championships.
But I forget who the Olympian is, but he said the only way that I learned how to get better was not to look at things in the rearview mirror. And I think that kind of goes to what you're saying. Like you can't, if you look at life, whatever you've done in the rearview mirror, you're going to lose sight of like what's to go forward. So even with our team, I'm like, you know, like everything's a learning opportunity. So it's like, don't look at the past, like look at what can we do to be better, which it's hard to do. Mark still thinks about his wrestling match in like high school that he lost, which was like a high school wrestling match. And I'll be like, what are you thinking about, Mark, right now? Oh, that high school wrestling match I lost.
A guy that he was a client, then a friend, then he worked for us, and eventually he moved to another state. But he said to me once, if you can't put it down, you're going to have to carry it. And I still carry, I know it's dumb but I still carry a handful of wrestling matches.
That's a good quote though.
It's a great quote.
Right?
I still carry them. Trials. It's so funny. I barely think of the trials I won. Barely. Some of the trials I lost, she's asleep. Every once in a while, I'll just be thinking, if I had just done this for that client, just done this, the trial's over. The client has probably moved on. Maybe in some ways they grew, but you know, you take on this responsibility in any competition. I mean, obviously it's bigger when someone's counting on you, but in any event, and I know I got to stop carrying some of the stuff. And I don't think it stops me as much day to day. I mean, I do think I learn and push forward, but in those quiet moments.
Yeah.
And to think I'm literally thinking back to the spring of 1989 and some match that whoever beat me doesn't even remember it happened. No one even remembers that it happened. And I'm still like, man, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
So what is next for Gravity? I know we got the Olympics coming up in Los Angeles, your son.
Maybe.
Like, what are you
We gotta
doing
see.
over the next?
But the better question, I love that question. So that if we sit down with you 2 years from now, what does the next 2 years look like for you?
Man, so I believe that I still have a responsibility to, the job's not done. The world's saw breaking. But my goal is to create a sustainable ecosystem for breaking, for the community that, believes in what we're doing. And it's really important for me to continue pushing forward. I've thought like, man, because, God gave me so much that sometimes I don't even know what to do with it. Seriously, like I feel like anything that I indulge in, I will get really good at. I believe that. And so I actually like indulging in things. Like I like doing things. I like doing things that I've never done before. And I like getting really good at things, right? And so, as much as I want to get into like buying and selling property and I want to create a future for my family, but how I get there will always be, I believe, through breaking. Like I believe like this is my home. Like that community, that culture, it's my home, and it's my job it's really my responsibility to get to where it belongs, like skating, like, where it has this amazing ecosystem, or like UFC or boxing or golf, or like these sports that are just thriving.
Yeah, breaking's just like waiting.
And
it could be like that. I mean,
we do the impossible.
Yeah,
we do the impossible.
and it's amazing to watch.
And I appreciate that.
I mean, if people can watch golf
is impossible, by the way. I don't know if you've.
No,
if
he
you've
went
tried.
once and he never went back.
I will tell you this.
Literally,
It's impossible. I play every so often.
But I'm
with
saying
somebodies.
people watch that, and that's
Yeah.
exciting but slow. Like
Yes.
watching breakdancing, like is
Yeah.
so much fun. It's like super.
So if I can be real, I believe that my mom says this all the time. People say it all the time. Like, I think I'm probably the greatest coach, mentor in the world for breaking. I would love to have a facility. Like my goal is to create a home for breaking. It's the orphan of all hip hop. It's the orphan sport of the world, where you can go to any park and find a basketball court. Mm-hmm. You can find soccer fields, tennis courts. You have no idea.
Now pickleball.
Yeah. By the way, chicken and pickle is so good. I don't know if you guys have been. It's so good. Anyway,
No.
we love it for family stuff. It's literally the coolest place. Anyway, but
Okay, where is that?
it's at Westgate. It's at
Oh,
Westgate. Yeah.
okay.
It's so freaking cool. But whatever the case is, man, I want to create a home for breaking, a professional facility where breakers can go and build their brand, have meetings, throw events, train for something big. Like I don't have to be the star of it, like this facility should be, this place is home for breaking, should be a place where like, hey man, I'm going to fly to Arizona for a month and I'm going to go train. And I want to be able to, for those who like are really indulged in it and really have a shot, I want to be able to create an opportunity for them to have, when I did this Olympic journey, I had access to, I got to go to the Mayo Clinic. I don't know if you know what that is.
Yeah.
It is the top hospital, like facility recovery. Like they have everything. They work with pro athletes. I still to this day have access to it, where doctors are like the best of the best. They're taking care of you, and then we meet with like recovery specialists, nutritionists, all this, like massage therapists. Like it's insane. And I want to create a facility like that, a home like that for breaking. And it's ready. Like breaking is ready for that. Like we have enough platforms right now where there's time to prepare, where like, let's tell your story. How like I'm one of the top breakers in the world, yes, but there are so many breakers that are incredible and have incredible stories.
This podcast, the first podcast, it's going to be so amazingly successful that you're going to end up with your own
I'm excited.
everything.
I'm excited.
Right? Everybody's going to be like, let me get in on that.
I can't wait to watch what
Yes.
you're going to do. I love the
appreciate
idea
it.
of the Tony Hawk of breaking, because what Tony Hawk did, he wasn't just he was this elite athlete, but what he did, what his father did, it was more than him. He created a community.
Yeah.
So this will surprise both of you, but because you guys both know I talk too much. So does our production team, who says we got to wrap it up. Okay. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so open and sharing some of the journey. I love it. I love it.
It's been
I
great
really
to meet you
appreciate
guys
it,
too, man. I look forward to what you guys do with the podcast and everything else you guys do, man. And she showed me. I know we got to wrap it up. She showed me the video of Cade's freaking. You didn't
you
send it to
finally
me.
saw it. I know, I kept meaning to.
He killed it.
He did good.
Dude, he really killed it.
He did
like, I
great.
literally got emotional because I was like, man, I told her, I said, man, I know you didn't get to see him practice, but man, I made that
Came a
boy
long
work.
way.
He really
Came a
showed
long way,
out.
yeah.
I couldn't
And Mark
believe
was
it.
even talking, just to wrap it up, just how dancing, breakdancing, like, is just, just it can give people so much.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing it or watching it. So I hope that everyone from this podcast is so much interested in breakdancing. What was the app again?
Yeah, so it's called Break Connect.
Break Connect,
Yeah,
like
it's-
looking for the competition.
Yeah, any type of competition in a city near you, you guys can check out Break Connect. And then honestly, just start following some breakers and you'll see people start to post what events they're going to, what's
How do
next.
they
And,
follow you?
So if you're on social media, like on Instagram, it's Gravity. It's Gravity_official. On YouTube, it's Bboy Gravity or Miguel Angel Rosario. It's Miguel Gravity Rosario, actually, on YouTube. And on YouTube, I have like my family vlogs and events and trips that I go to. Some of my Olympic journeys on there as well. And yeah, man, I hope the
Exciting.
world, gets to see more of what we do and what you guys do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yes.
I refuse to agree. I've gotten older, but can you hold this phone back?
I gave
about
him one of
20
my
feet?
mom's reading glasses, and she's 84, and he was like, Alexis, get away with those. And then I left the
puts 'em
room.
on and he's
he
like,
put them on and he was
Whole
like,
new world.
yeah.
One of the worst
It was
moments
so
of my
funny.
life. Number one, why haven't you seen LL Cool J live? That was a question for me. So LL was the original greatest ever. I mean, Run DMC changed the game and everything else and lifted it up, but I loved LL as much.
Mark tried to get me to have DMC at our party.
I did try. It wasn't
He's like,
happening,
I
but,
want him there.
I would.
But we saw Run DMC at the Hip Hop
Yeah,
50.
they were the
They were
walk-off.
really great.
They were pretty cool.
Okay, so LL
Why
Cool
haven't
J,
I haven't been to many concerts, to be honest with you.
does
So
he like still
I'm sure- oh,
play
yeah,
Rock the
I'm
and
sure he
Bells.
stuff?
does.
Rock the Bells.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I don't know.
I mean,
Rock the
that
Bells
was the
concert
album
is
that
off
got
the
going.
hook.
His Bigger Endeavor album is my favorite album
We'll
of
have
my
to
life.
look it up and take Gravity and
yeah,
his
let's
wife.
go.
That's right. See what I'm saying? I don't know if Bianca likes LL.
She loves hip hop crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I don't think he comes through Arizona much. I don't know.
And is
Because he's got a whole acting
777
career.
an important number to her? Because she,
It's not. But when she pulled it, I was like,
we had a trip to Paris for our annual party, and Bianca pulled the ticket, and I saw it. It ended 777, and I was like,
it's funny because when we go to Vegas or like when we go to Vegas, she literally is like, you want to gamble? And I'm like, oh, let's go a little bit.
That was her gambling. 777. That must have been like the
awesome.
That was a good
visible
number.
string.
That's crazy.
Amazing. And she picked an amazing person to win our trip to Paris.
All right. Here's the last question. This would go for, I'm going to ask you first, then you, then I'll answer.
Okay.
If you have a night with no kids, where are you taking your wife for a date night?
Sedona. I'll drive all the way up to Sedona just to watch the sunset, have a nice dinner, and then drive back.
That's
Wow.
You're gonna make me
that
look like an
can't
idiot.
be topped.
What would you do with a night with no kids? Probably call the
Oh
kids.
my
If you're being
gosh.
honest.
The whole car ride up
Like-
to Sedona will be talking about the kids.
Right, exactly. Right. I mean, that's the thing.
Wow.
What would you do with a night with no kids?
I don't even remember us having a night with no kids. We've had some lunches, but they're usually like fast places. A date night. So I think right now the movie, what's it called? It Ends With Us. What's that movie that's out right now? I forget what it is, but it's like It Ends With Us or something like that. You can make a mental note of this. A few people on our team went to see it this weekend. It Ends With Us or something like that. I think I would go to the movies and maybe, although I gained a few pounds from the firm party and eating a lot this weekend, so probably shouldn't do this, but the Pizookie at Oregano's, have you ever had that?
Yes.
It's literally amazing. When I was pregnant with all the 8 kids, I would get weighed in like each month or each week. And then I'd be like, Mark, let's go get a Pizookie. And I don't share. We don't need to share our Pizookie. I literally ate that whole thing on my own. So I would go to Oregano's and then see that movie.
The truth is, I would steal some. So Jeff asked a
Tries
good
to
question.
steal some. I'm like,
If it were up to me,
yes. Yeah, what would
No
it be?
kids?
No kids?
Netflix and chill.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe. That's like
That's
what.
tight.
Am I allowed to say
haven't done
that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that inappropriate?
Absolutely
I mean, we're
not.
married.
Yeah.
We're married, and that's a date that shows love. We could finally watch the new Cobra Kai season.
We are. That is
Facts.
something that would probably be our date night.
That
Watch
would be-
Cobra Kai.
I'm so in House of Dragons right
Yes.
now, man.
See,
Jeez.
so why do we have to go to some movie that's probably some love story you're talking about?
It is a love
Sedona's
story.
a long way, but
But
you
I
know what's
heard-
close?
I-
My remote.
I heard one of our team members went to see The Love Story, and then they saw Twister, which I haven't
We just
seen.
saw. Whoa.
Is it good?
It's insane.
Oh, okay.
Really?
I didn't see. Apparently, there's a Twister 1 though, which I didn't.
Yeah,
we
years
didn't.
ago.
Did you see that?
So good,
Years
too.
ago,
Yeah, I didn't
yeah,
see
it was a
that
good
either.
movie, and it was good.
They
So,
killed
yeah.
it. They
I didn't even
killed
know there
Twister.
was a new one out.
Yeah.
I got to get out more.
Legend.
All right. So I think that is the end of episode 1.
That's our
Yeah,
first
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
We're gonna
we
get
waited
a date
20 years
night
to meet
and
you in front of
give
a podcast.
Gravity a whole studio.
That's the best. Yeah,
Complex
we got a lot
and
to
everything.
accomplish.
Yeah,
That's
right.
right.
A lot of
those
work
are
to
our
be done.
goals.
All right. That's it. That's the end of episode 1 of the, what are we again? The
Love and Law.
Love and Law.
Law and
podcast.
Law, life, love.
Something.
The 3 L's.
The 3 L's. The 3 better L's. All right.
All right.
Where can we find Gravity and then say email podcast@breyerlaw.com if you have a question.
Okay.
Is it at breyerlaw.com or at husbandwifelawteam.com? It is. All right. So you go first. So what was the question for
Yeah.
he wanted supposed to answer?
Where you can find
Where
me.
they can find like your socials or
Okay.
He said that before.
Yeah, he
You want
did
to
say
say
it.
it again?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, and if you have any questions, email. Wait, what do they email again? Podcast?
podcast@breyerlaw.
If you have questions, email podcast@breyerlaw.com. That's BRE. Don't forget the E, BREYERLAW.com. Eventually, you're going to be emailing podcast at
I was going to
else.
say we should do one at podcast at
we
Husband Wife
will.
Law Team.
Oh, in case we don't have it ready.
I know.
All right.
Yeah.
Email podcast at husbandandwifelawteam.com.
Podcast at husbandandwifelawteam.com.
Yeah, podcast at
Okay.
husbandandwifelawteam.
Podcast at.
Podcast
Husband and Wife Law
at.
Team.
We
And do
got
your
this done.
research.
Do your research. It's true.
Podcast at husbandandwifelawteam.
All right. That's a break.
Yay.
Good job, y'all. Man,
Oh my
that
gosh.
was great.